Most entrepreneurs build a business that depends entirely on them, and that's not true freedom, that's a prison. When I first started my career as an engineer in a software company, the owner of the company came to me and said, Ryan, if you can't be promoted, you can't be replaced. And I applied that principle to entrepreneurship. So as an entrepreneur, I seek to promote myself by replacing myself. I had to learn how to scale myself out of specific roles within the company as I scaled my business. If I didn't learn how to do that, I would have never had an exit for $792 million. So today, I'm going to give you the exact principles that I utilize to scale my business with or without me, and to scale my wealth as well. Number one, you have to build systems that run without you. If your business breaks when you're not around, it's not a business, it's a high-paying job. You have to document everything. You have to build SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures. You have to automate the repetitive tasks, and you have to delegate the rest. Your time should be spent working on the machine, not being the machine. I used to ask myself, if I had to disappear for 90 days, would this company still grow? If your answer to that question is no, then fix that first. Number two, you need to hire leaders, not helpers. Don't just hire people to lighten your load. Hire people who own outcomes. The best businesses aren't built on one superstar. They're built on a team of A players that think like owners. What I looked for when I was growing my team were people who thought strategically, people who were self-starters, people who didn't need constant hand-holding or reminders. What I gave them was the why behind the mission. I gave them clear KPIs, and then I gave them the decision-making power to take the risks. Now, some people will tell you just get great people and get out of their way, and I don't believe that that is wise counsel. I get great people, I give them the decision-making power to take the risks, and then we evaluate the risk. We evaluate their decisions. We look at whether or not they made the right decision and they made the right call for the situation, or perhaps with more data or more hindsight, maybe they would have made a different decision. So I don't get out of their way. In fact, I built the business with them as their wise counsel. So that way I can transfer my decision-making process and my risk-taking process, and that's how I know that they would make the same decision with or without me. The number three principle that I've learned, and this actually happened by way of a mentor of mine. He's a multi-billionaire. I was sitting in his office, and all he cared to talk about was culture. I couldn't understand why, because I was so in the weeds and so deeply ingrained in the tactics. I didn't understand why this multi-billionaire only cared about culture. He had about 20,000 employees, or maybe even more, and he was involved in a number of different businesses, but all he cared about was the culture that powered those businesses. In fact, the culture that powered his companies was the invisible engine. So the third principle is culture is the invisible engine. Culture is what happens when you're not in the room. You either build it intentionally or it builds itself by accident. Having been an entrepreneur now for 27 years, the culture that I've created in my current startup, AlterCall, it's one of extreme ownership, radical candor. We're obsessed about growing the right way, and we reward results, specifically results that reinforce our values. For us, it's not about ping pong tables or a gourmet kitchen or any of the other fringe benefits that some of the other startups have. For us, it's about performance and rewarding results. Number four, you have to learn to fly your business on instruments. What that means is you have to focus on operational excellence. When you're first starting a startup, you often are flying the plane by sight. You're literally looking out the window to determine how to make decisions and what the next steps are. And then as the business grows, you have to learn how to fly that plane on instruments, which means you need to have dashboards. You need to be looking at your numbers. You need to comb through every aspect of the business monthly, looking at its P&L, its balance sheet, its cash flow, its people operations. And you need to make sure that you have the data necessary to make good decisions within the business. And you need to make sure that as the top line scales, the bottom line performs as well. Oftentimes the bottom line gets away from people. They might have high top line growth and then they keep compromising themselves on the bottom line. I've seen businesses do hundreds of millions a year in revenue and they're just squeaking out small profitability. And you have to have religion around your profitability, which means you have to look at every aspect of your business and you have to constantly optimize your business model. Number five, build your company in such a way where no one is irreplaceable, including yourself. Most founders let their ego get in the way and they position themselves where they can never be replaced. And as I said early on in the video, if you can't be replaced, you can't be promoted. So think about this. If you want to be promoted to being the CEO of a $100 million company, you're going to have to replace yourself multiple times away, which means that you're going to have to build systems that work with or without you. If you one day want to be promoted to exiting your company and selling it to a private equity group or a strategic buyer or taking it public, then you're going to have to replace yourself multiple times over on your journey to those milestones. You're going to have to train leaders, create a high-performing culture, remove yourself as the bottleneck in your business. And the true test is, can you take a vacation? Can you go away for 10 days, 20 days, or longer and not have to check into your business at all, and it grows with or without you? Because you don't scale by working harder. You scale by designing systems that build your business. All of the accolades that I've received and all the businesses that I built to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and exit value have come by way of me building systems that build my businesses. I don't build a business. I build a series of systems. I get those systems interoperating, I get them efficient, and then they build the business. And that's how I exited for $792 million. And that's how I help other entrepreneurs scale from 8 figures to 9 figures and beyond. And that's how you build a company that'll give you freedom, wealth, and impact. Comment below and let me know which principles you're going to implement in your business next. And one more thing, if you're serious about building and scaling your company, let's take some time together. I offer up 30 minutes of my time in a free coaching call where I teach you the best practices that I'm using to not only scale my company, but many other companies in the marketplace. In fact, some brands you may be very well aware of. And I have one condition: you have to be purpose-driven, because I only work with entrepreneurs that are seeking to make an impact. And obviously you have to be open to possibly working together. If you want to learn about the best practices that I'm utilizing to scale businesses in the marketplace and how I might be able to advise your company, there's no strings attached. Go ahead and click on the link in the description to book a call, and let's build something that lasts.